Captains. It gives me such great pleasure to bring to you the very first Explain 11 video on the Q8 Pilot channel. I would like to extend my personal gratitude to Laminar Research for providing me with this public beta release copy to showcase. We will begin our first look video at Explain 11 by taking a tour of the user interface, and we will conclude our first video with a test flight around Seattle International Airport in the United States. You will notice that Explain 11 has a brand new user interface. And as you can see, you can resume your last flight, you can start a new flight, load a saved flight, and now there is a flight school in Explain 11 for those of you who are new to flight simulation. And last but not least, the settings menu where we will begin our first look at Explain 11. The first thing you will come to appreciate in Explain 11 is how intuitive and fluid the user interface is. And what they've done is really smart. You have now one window with tabs right here to really configure the sim to your preference and to your liking. So in the General tab, you have the language, the flight model, the realism settings, some warning messages, and data in terms of what kind of data you want to output to the log. In the sounds menu, and let me tell you the sounds are really well done on the Cessna 172, and we'll take a look at this momentarily. But the sounds are very good, and this is where you come to basically change the settings or the volumes of the sounds inside the simulator. And you can also enable or disable text and verbal ATC messages. The graphics. Now, this is a beta release, okay? This is a public beta, so there are a few things I feel are missing. I could be mistaken, but there are a few things that I could not find here, okay? Such as the runways follow terrain contour, the birds don't draw birds and deers in nice weather. So these things are not there, and I'm not sure if it's by design or just because this is a beta. But fundamental changes have been also brought into the way things are set up in Explain 11. So in Explain 10, you had to tick on a button to enable HDR and then select the anti-aliasing setting. In Explain 11, that's a little different, okay? So I'm going to move this tab all the way here to minimal, and as you can see, the anti-aliasing option has now changed because HDR is now disabled. So as you increase the visual effects, okay, this is the very first setting with HDR enabled, and this is now introducing completely different set for anti-aliasing settings. Now, there is one more step now, which is this one here. It says HDR plus SSAO. Frankly, I don't know what SSAO is. I did notice that it cost me about 5 frames to put it on this setting, and I wasn't able to detect any visual improvement, to be frank. I'm not sure if, again, this is because this is a beta version or that my graphics card isn't, capable of rendering using these options. I really don't know. But this setting I find to be very good in terms of performance, so I'm going to leave it there. Now, with texture quality, again, if you recall, you can set up the resolution, and then there is a button to tick for texture compression. That has also been changed in Explain 11. So these are the settings that you're normally accustomed to. So these are minimal, low, medium, high, and then this is maximum. Now, if you want maximum textures without compression, then you move this all the way to the end, and now you get maximum no compression. Okay, again, very, very smart way of simplifying the user interface, minimizing the clicks, minimizing the work that you have to do to reach the ultimate settings that you want. Very, very intuitive, very fluid, very smart. Monitor configuration, this is something I think you all know. It says 32-bit. No, that's not what I want. I have a 144 hertz monitor, so I'm going to select that. And by the way, I do apologize for my voice. I'm really not feeling very well, but I know you guys are very anxious to, see X-Plane 11, so I decided to do this video. Lateral field of view, again, this is something you remember from X-Plane 10. Now, again, here you have number of world objects. Now, if you recall, in X-Plane 10, we had several of these, right? So we had number of world objects, that was 1. We had the trees, we had the number of roads, and we had also the traffic. Now, I can see the traffic in the sim, but I'm not sure if this would mean that everything is on max. So I really can't say if this means that the traffic is on max and the trees are on max and everything is on max. The only thing I can see here is number of world objects. Again, I'm not sure if this is in the final release, if that's how it's going to be, but it is a little different. Reflection detail, again, you can set this slider to maximum, so you will get maximum reflection details. But then if you want the shadows to be casted on scenery, so the equivalent of global melt your GPU in X-Plane 10, then you need to take this option. If you take this option and move the reflection detail back, that would mean that probably some of them is, one of the settings would be like global, but like the minimal, like the one above 3D on aircraft, something like that. So I haven't really figured out what would be the equivalent. So I just set everything to max to just kind of see, what I would get. And I'm actually getting good performance. I would tell you that the X-Plane 10 performance is far better. I will tell you that much. With the default Cessna, so I'm getting about, with these settings at Seattle, which is, very involved scenery. And by the way, the scenery has changed. I'll show you in a bit. But I'm getting about 35 frames. And it doesn't matter whether it's daylight or nighttime. I'm getting just really the same frame rates. It's not changing. So anyway, so those are the things to watch for. I am probably at some point after the official release, I will probably do a complete settings video. I just really need to understand what those mean and what they do to the sim and what effect they have on performance. So it's going to take me a little bit of time to do some research. Again, you can activate VSync here. And if you recall, in X-Plane 10, we had a hardware and equipment menu. That now has been deprecated and everything has been moved to the graphics page. And I think this is, honestly, I think this is more intuitive. I think it would make sense to have these within the graphics tab. Then you have the network tab, and this is now so much easier, guys. It used to be a nightmare trying to, add a multiplayer machine, or, getting these IP addresses. So things are much more intuitive. Everything is very, very fluid. And by the way, if you don't have this application, is it Xavion or Xavion, Xavion, something like that? Do get it, because it's actually a lot of fun and it's a very useful application to have. So do get it. It's free. You can download it off the iTunes or whatever you call it, the Apple Store. You can download it there and you can have a lot of fun with it. Then the data output. Now this is where normally you'd go to display your frame rates while flying in the sim. This has been brought here. I'm not sure if you can access this menu while in flight, because that's something I used to really like in X-Plane 10, is if I wanted to do like a test while in flight, then I simply go in and turn on the frame rates, and then I'm done with my test. So I want to continue my flight, then I remove it. So I'm not sure if you can assign a button to it. I haven't really done that much research yet. But this is where you go to show all these different, options on the screen. Joystick settings is something I am absolutely amazed how Laminar Research have thought about this. This is what I call intelligent user interface design. And it is so intuitive because it is visual. So you can actually click on a button and tell the sim what you want this button to do. And it's so easy, so intuitive, and the same things work for the other controls. So you can just simply go in and you can select whatever you want. For example, let me see here. Let me go up here and see if I can catch one of these. You know what? Let me do the. I was working on the wrong one, so let me go to the throttle. All right. So, for example, there. So now I'm moving the. This is my Tuga power, and this is the thrust reverser. So it's very easy. So even though there isn't really a picture here to show me the other controls, you can just simply click on the controls, move them, and it will simply, kind of lit up. So you can change it. I think I have set a few things here. Let me see. Yeah. So the flaps. So I've set up my flaps. Very easy again to do. And the same thing works for the joystick. And look at that. Look at how smart this is. Left side. So you can click on the left side buttons, and then you have the right side as well, which is brilliant. And then the other controls as well, so that you can set up. So again, it gives you very granular control over your flying equipment. And I was actually very, very impressed that my J rudder is actually working. So I've set up my yaw and right and left toe brakes, and they work absolutely great. No issues at all with my joystick, although in the message that I got from Laminar Research, they've indicated that they are aware of some issues with joystick setup, but not for my equipment. My equipment worked just fine. And then, last but not least, we have the keyboard assignment. Now, the keyboard assignment is something that was extremely difficult to do in X-Plane 10. It wasn't very intuitive. Now it's actually very easy to do. You just go into whatever you want. So you want to contact ATC, that's the return button. You can add and change, right? So it's very intuitive. The whole user interface, I can spend just, an hour looking at the user interface and admire the intelligence that was put in doing it. It's so very smart, very fluid, a job very, very well done. Excellent design on the user interface. And last but not least, we have the GPS hardware. Now, I haven't really played with this, and obviously you need to do some, you need to have, I do have the device, I'm just not sure how to set this up. At the moment, I'll probably do some research at some point and then come back and see this option. Okay, so I know you guys are probably very excited about X-Plane, and you probably want to go and see the airplanes, and you want to see, how things look in X-Plane. So let's go ahead and set up our flight. All right, so we're going to go ahead and set up a new flight. And a lot of new features have been also brought to the way you set up your flight. And let me tell you, the user interface, again, the design, the ease of use, the intuitiveness is absolutely admirable. So now, remember in X-Plane 10, you were presented with a menu where you select the aircraft, but then there was no way for you to select the livery. In X-Plane 11, that problem has been solved. You can also now set your favorite aircraft, so you can click there, and now this becomes one of your favorites. Now, from here, you can go and select your, so you can filter by what was it that you want to see. Do you want to see general aviation aircraft? And this is my favorite that I just selected, right? or you can select by the engine type, 0, 1, 2, or 4 engines. You maybe want to select by manufacturer, so if you select on Boeing, there isn't anything there. Well, that's obviously because I put general aviation, so I'll put all classes. So now I get the 737 and the 747. And obviously, you can select the studios, Laminar Research or something else, maybe PMDG or X Aviation, and so on and so forth. For our flight today, we're going to be selecting the Cessna Skyhawk, and that's the Cessna 172. And there are a few things that I want to kind of point to. One is, if you recall in X-Plane 10, we used to go to the aircraft menu, situations, to set up our AI traffic. Now, it's right over here. See, this button says AI aircraft, and you can just come here and say you can enable combat, and you can add aircraft, and you can randomize each flight so that they would go to different destinations. And the way you do this is you say add, and then you can edit now which aircraft you want. And you can also select the livery of the aircraft that you want for AI traffic, and just say done. And now it will display the number of AI aircraft in the region that you're flying. For the purpose of this test flight, I'm not going to have any AI traffic. And the other thing that probably I've got so many questions on in X-Plane 10 is, how do I start the aircraft on the ramp, and how do I start in cold and dark state? Now in X-Plane 11, that's again extremely intuitive. The only thing you need to do is click on customize, and now you can say start right here. You see this option says start with engines running or with engines. Now this is a cold and dark state. Okay. You can set up the failures for the aircraft world. So what kind of problem you want to have the aircraft itself, electrical, lights, instruments, engines, wings, nav IDs. So you have, again, very, very granular control over what you want to set in terms of failures. Okay, weight and balance and fuel, look at that. That is absolutely gorgeous. Very intuitive, very easy to use, and very functional as well. So you can manipulate the center of gravity, you can increase the payload, total fuel, and it will give you the flight time for the selected fuel. And you can also switch between imperial and metric. So you can, with just a simple click, you go from pounds to kilograms. That's very, very good. It used to be a problem in X-Plane 10, and now it has been resolved. Okay, so I'm just going to come here, and now let's select the airport. So when you want to select the airport, you can select by the ICAO code, IATA code, FAA, by city and state. And let me tell you, this is absolutely incredible that they have done this. In X-Plane 10, this was one of the things I dreaded the most, was trying to look for an airport when I didn't know the ICAO code for it. And I just kind of kept typing, the names, and I would go and search on Google for the airport name or for the ICAO code so that I can quickly reference it in X-Plane. That is now also a relic of the past with this new interface. So we're going to select the ICAO code, and we're just going to type the Kilo Sierra Echo Alpha, which is Seattle International Airport. And now, normally in X-Plane 10, there isn't anything you can do when you're actually just starting. You have to go to the airport, to the selected default ramp or runway, and then once you are there, you can change the position of the aircraft. In X-Plane 11, you can go simply to customize and location. It will give you the airport diagram where you can select where you want to position the aircraft. And this is really great feature because now you have granular control over where you want to start. Do you want to start at the runway, or do you want to start, at the ramp? And from here, you can also select where you want to start. So if you click here, it will highlight that position on the map here. Or maybe perhaps you just want to start it on the runway, or a 3 nautical mile approach, or a 10 nautical mile approach. Remember, we had these options in Explain 10, but it wasn't intuitive in this way. So again, this is a great feature. The user interface, the ease of use is something that really marks this flight simulation platform as a world-class flight simulation platform. Okay, so what I'm going to do is we're going to start at, let's see here. You know what? Let me start at the runway. Let me start at runway 34 left. And by the way, it tells you the length of the runway, and it tells you also whether it's concrete, asphalt, or grass runway. Again, a great feature, lots of information, very, very good. Okay, so we're going to confirm that. So now we have the airport selected, we have the aircraft, the weather. There are two things we can do. We can either fly in real world conditions, or you can customize the weather. So let's click on customize, and here you can say match real world conditions. That would download real-time weather, or you can actually add a wind layer, you can add a cloud layer, you can select what kind of cloud you want, and you can select the ceiling for these clouds. You can move these clouds wherever you want. Thermals, you can add, altitude, the coverage, climb rate, bodies of water, everything you can set in the weather menu. So you have complete control over what kind of weather conditions you want to fly in. Okay, and this is particularly useful for you if you want to practice, for example, crosswind landings, or clear weather. You want to fly VFR in IFR conditions and see what happens. Really set up your own kind of challenge. It gives you that granular detail over the weather. For our flight today, we're going to say match real world conditions, and that would just download the weather. And of course, it will. You can set the refresh rate similar to Explain 10, but again, it's far more intuitive now in Explain 11. Now, the time of day. By the way, the buttons that we're used to as Explain 10 users are still preserved. So your K and L would advance the time, fast forwards or rewinds time. Your greater than and smaller than signs or keyboard buttons will zoom in and zoom out. You can still use Shift with 1, 2, 3, 4, 9 to cycle through the different camera views. So all of these keyboard buttons are still working in the same way they used to work in Explain 10. So there's a little bit of backward compatibility, if you will. So is this guy done? Yes. So this is what we can expect in terms of weather. So there is, it looks like, some gusting wind and right here and some clouds in the vicinity. Okay, so we're done with the weather, and time, you know what, I'll leave it as, let's make it 5. Yeah, 5 local time. And now we are ready to start. I'm going to start at the runway with the engines. Actually, let's start in cold and dark. That's fine. And by the way, if you want to select the liveries, this is where you go to select the liveries. Yeah. Again, a very nice feature. So you don't have to, there you go. See, you have different liveries here. So you know what? Let's start with this livery, and let's say start flight. All right, captains. Here we are. Explain 11, and this is the default Cessna Skyhawk 172. And as you can see, the lighting and the reflections in X-Plane 11 are simply phenomenal. Look at that. That looks like a real aircraft. It looks, the metal, the reflections, the lighting looks absolutely gorgeous. I haven't really seen anything like it before. And look at that glass. Look at the reflection of the glass, the fuselage here. And this is the default Cessna. So this comes out of the box with X-Plane 11. That is gorgeous. That is really, really gorgeous. Very, very nice. Very well done. And this is, look, this is why this is a completely separate download. So this is not an incremental download to X-Plane 10. This is a completely brand new simulator. As you can see, by the way, there is no real Terra haze. There are absolutely no plugins. What you're seeing on the screen is X-Plane 11 plain vanilla. There's really nothing other than X-Plane itself. Let me just look at the haze, look at the volumetric fog. Look at that. That looks very realistic. It looks very look at the oh my god, look at the signs. Look at those roads and the cars. That looks just absolutely gorgeous. Incredible, really incredible. I don't think that, you know, one needs to change anything in terms, look at the power lines, look at that. If you recall, in X-Plane 10, I actually changed those. I've downloaded some kind of a, you know, a replacement for it, and it looks like it's raining. The rain isn't very clear that it's raining, but I can see it. I'm not sure if you guys can see it. And look at the airport. The airport in general has, you know, service vehicles moving around. So they're lively, not like X-Plane 10. And by the way, there is an option to also park the aircrafts at the gate, but I have that option turned off to save on frames a little bit. But as you can see, it looks, the houses, look at that, look at that. That's absolutely gorgeous. Really, really nice. Let me just kind of take you guys through this. Look at that. Great. Let me change the time here, make it nighttime. Oh my gosh, look at that. Look at the lights. No, by the way, there's no real Terra haze, right? So this is X-Plane 11 default. And as you can see, it is absolutely gorgeous. Very realistic. This looks like real life at night. The lighting, the way it's been done, the way the lighting, the lights have been positioned, far more realistic than X-Plane 10. In X-Plane 10, you had this really defined lines of lights, and this is not the case in X-Plane 11. And it looks absolutely gorgeous. It feels very lively, and that is something that I really, really like. Look at that. Oh my gosh, look at that. That looks absolutely phenomenal. Very realistic and very, very enjoyable. I think the eye candy is going to be something that I'm going to really admire. There's a police car there. Very nice indeed. All right, captains, we are, I think, ready to take our first flight. So let's go ahead and do that. Let me make sure the, right, so the parking brake. All right. Now, the sounds are really nice, and these are all custom sounds, and according to Laminar Research, those have been recorded from a real aircraft. So let's see here. Mixture rich, throttle cracked, and beacon on, and let's start it. Now the sounds very realistic, right? Avionics. There we go. Now you can access the settings from here. Okay, so we can go to sound, and maybe I will decrease the sound a bit here for the interior. You know, one thing that I would probably personally like, if the percentage would actually appear somewhere here. So I know that I'm probably at 70% or 80%. That would really help. So the slider right now, I know I'm about maybe 75%, but it would be best that the number is probably indicated here as well. That would really change, or maybe perhaps something, if the percentage travels along with the circle right above it here, that would be really great. But that's fine. So I'm just going to say OK, and let's see here. So nav lights on, strobe, landing light, and we're good to go. Let's set flaps. And let's release the parking brake. All right, here we go. Right, let's begin retracting the flaps. Now I'm not sure what this, there is a flicker here. See that? I'm not sure what that is. And there's also a flicker on the water bodies. I'm not sure why that is. But look at that. Look at the scenery. Oh, that's just really nice. Very, very different from X-Plane. You see that flicker? There is some kind of a flicker there. I'm not sure what that is. Brilliant. Very fluid. Now, I know SkyMax Pro, the new version, I think version 4, is coming very soon. And I don't like the clouds in X-Plane at all. Not in 10. Not in 11. They just look very unrealistic. But everything else looks phenomenal. Look at that. Alright, let me switch to external view. Let me tell you, the lighting and reflections look absolutely phenomenal. Very nice indeed. Alright, let's go ahead and change this to nighttime. Let's completely black out everything. And let's take a look at the lights. Yeah, look at that. And I think you can see the rain now. I'm not sure. I hope that you can see the rain. I can see the rain now. I'll tell you, for a default Cessna, this Cessna looks very, very, very good. Oh, look at that. Just look at that. It looks absolutely great. Alright, captains, before we conclude our video today, I wanted to show you the water in X-Plane 11, which is a little bit different than X-Plane 10. And this is probably the only thing that I probably like more in X-Plane 10, the water. The movement, the waves, I don't think they're very realistic, to be frank. Now, as you move up, from a distance, it looks okay, but I think the reflections, it looked far more realistic in X-Plane 10, in my opinion. But you may or may not agree with me. Another thing that I have noticed is that the type of buildings and the roads are different in the US and in Europe. So you will not find the same buildings in the US and in Europe. They're different. As you can see, the roads in X-Plane 11 in European countries is a bit lighter, and the signs are also different. In the United States, these signs are normally green, and in Europe, they're in blue. So I think this is accounted for in X-Plane 11, and as you can see, the scenery looks just gorgeous. It's very, very convincing, very realistic. Even the trees have changed in X-Plane 11. Everything really has been done with a lot of thought, with a lot of care. Captains, I hope that you've enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making it for you. This is probably going to be the first of many X-Plane 11 videos to come. Until next time, please take care of yourselves and each other, and I will see you all very soon. Thanks for watching, and bye-bye for now.